So we've reached the beginning of July today, first of the month today. The third of the major Cheltenham festivals is on the horizon. We've had the Jazz Festival, the Science Festival. Next comes the Music Festival, starting on Friday and runs until the 14th of July. And among the big names coming to the county is internationally acclaimed classical violinist Nicola Benedetti. She's playing Cheltenham Town Hall on Friday, July the 12th, and she's collaborating with the Academy of Ancient Music. I spoke to its chief executive, Alexander van Ingen, all about it. We'll hear some of the music you're likely to hear if you go to the Town Hall for the concert. We'll hear some of that first, and then Alexander told me how pleased he was to be bringing Nicola to Cheltenham.
We're enormously happy to bring Nicky to the Cheltenham Festival. I think Nicola Benedetti is one of the foremost violinists of our time. And for us, as the Academy of Ancient Music, we made our debut performances with Nicola this time last year. They were concerts that went extraordinarily well in a variety of places in the UK. And we were delighted when we had an invitation from Alison Balsam, the Music Festival's director, to bring this programme to Cheltenham, because it's such a glorious programme of wonderful composers, Vivaldi and Handel, two of the greatest Baroque composers from the early 1700s. It's a very happy programme. It's a smile-inducing programme. It'll be a great concert on July the 12th.
It's a name people will know, and I've just looked at her programme for this year. She's in Germany at the moment, coming to the UK, then off to LA, Colorado, back to the UK. She's a musician in demand, isn't she?
She's such an international superstar, and that's both because she's the most amazing violinist, an incredible musician, but also because she's just a brilliant communicator, and she's somebody that walks on stage and lights up the room, and it makes you pay attention when you're in the audience, and you want to be a part of it. And she performs the music with such grace and poise and flair. It's a real delight for us as musicians to be on stage with her. It is a real thrill.
When she's touring like this and going from country to country, how closely can you work with her to put this programme together?
Very closely is the answer. So our music director, Richard Egar, he lives in Amsterdam, and he will kind of intersect with Nicky as she travels from various places and gently work on repertoire over the course of the year. And in the few days immediately running up to the concert, we'll work with Nicky full-time, as it were. So we'll be rehearsing for a couple of days before we come to Cheltenham. And a certain amount of the repertoire is similar, and one or two of the greatest concertos are the same as concerts we did last year, so there's a certain amount of knowledge and history amongst us as musicians working with her. And one of the great things about working with music of the Baroque era in particular is that it tends to be slightly smaller scale than it's not a huge 80-piece symphony orchestra with a soloist out the front, which is very much a sort of them and us dynamic. But for us in the Baroque world, it's much more about 12, 14, 16 people on stage collaborating together as a chamber ensemble, and actually that makes it much easier to work with somebody like Nicola, who comes in open to new ideas and is completely open to working with us, and we're open to working with her and creating something across the 3 or 4 days before we come to Cheltenham in July.
And I know that you're really keen to work with the sort of next generation of musicians. It's something Nicola's really keen on as well. So from the Academy's point of view, how do you sort of reach out to schools, young people who might not have discovered this kind of music before, and how do you really infuse them and get them involved?
We do quite a lot of work locally. We're based primarily in Cambridge for historical reasons, and also in London. And we have a whole programme throughout the year of events where we go out into everything from working with toddlers in the Fitzwilliam Museum and elsewhere, and with primary schools and with secondary schools. We did a huge project around Handel's Messiah, involving 60 children from 5 different London secondary schools composing their own work based on the same story and in response to the Messiah. And we try as hard as we can, because we believe that this music is not only so important, but actually it's so accessible and it's so wonderful. And the music of the Baroque is so much like contemporary pop music in terms of its construction. It tends to be in 4-minute movements, 3, 4, 5-minute movements, not in great sort of 25-minute impenetrable chunks. It's really in small, bite-sized, readily accessible units with great melodies, easily accessible harmony, and it's in a way I think Baroque music should be the gateway drug to the wider world of classical and romantic music.
How much are you looking forward to coming to Cheltenham and just kind of sampling everything else going on as part of the festival?
The Cheltenham Music Festival has to be one of the best music festivals around, and I've had a look at the programme, and there's some amazing stuff on, not just on July the 12th, but all around the month. I'm certainly going to come early because there are people I know who are playing, and other people who I don't know who look really interesting and exciting, and I'll be staying on a day or two after Nicola to hear the Heath Quartet, to hear Anna's organ recital, and trying to be there before Nicola to hear Victoria Mulliver and her son and others. It's a really interesting and fantastic programme that Alison's curated.
Yeah, you can just sense that enthusiasm, and I know he wants to be here throughout the festival. That's Alexander van Ingen, who's the Chief Executive of the Academy of Ancient Music, and as you heard, he's working with Nicola Benedetti when she comes to the Cheltenham Music Festival, the classical violinist. That all starts on Friday. The whole festival runs until the 14th of July, and that particular concert is at Cheltenham Town Hall. Should be really good, as you heard there. Little samples of the music that you're likely to hear. It's on July the 12th, so I'm sure that'll be great. One of the big names coming to the Cheltenham Music Festival. So jazz and science, music next, and then later in the year, the Literature Festival, of course, all happening on our doorstep in Cheltenham.